Hi, my name is Ravi. Welcome to my channel Payment Talks. Welcome to ISO 20022 video series where we break down the most important standard in modern payments in a clear and practical way. Why this series matters? Whether it's cross-border payments, real-time domestic schemes or regulatory reporting, ISO 20022 is now everywhere. If you work in banking, fintech, payment operations, product, APIs, or compliance, you will deal with ISO sooner or later. This series is built to give you real working knowledge, not just definitions. In this video series, we will start our ISO 20022 journey from scratch. By the end of this series, I can guarantee that you will be an expert in ISO and ready to take on any project. We will start with fundamentals and then building blocks before we move on to ISO messages and their flows. So enjoy the ride and learn ISO during the ride. First, what is ISO? ISO stands for International Organization for Standardization. ISO is a global organization that creates standards, basically agreed upon rules so that things work the same way everywhere in the world. It is an independent, non-governmental global standards body headquartered in Geneva, Switzerland with 170 plus member countries. What does they do? ISO creates standards that bring consistency, safety, quality, interoperability. You might have heard some of these standards like ISO 9001, the most common one for making sure companies follow quality processes. Others like ISO 27001 for information security, ISO 4217 for currency codes. We also have some ISO standards in payments. ISO 9362, which defines how a standard BIC has to be defined. Similarly, ISO 8583 for cards transaction messaging. Think of ISO like the world's rulebook makers. They do not make products or run companies. They simply create common guidelines so everyone follows the same method. ISO does not enforce standards, it publishes them. Governments, companies, and financial infrastructures decide whether to adopt them. Now, what is ISO 20022? ISO 20022 is a global messaging standard used mainly in payments, securities, FX, and trade finance. ISO 20022 is another standard published by ISO, but its purpose is very specific. It defines what data to send and how to send it between financial institutions. Think of it as the global financial industry's common language for data exchange. Let's understand why ISO 20022 was created. First issue was previously we had many standards and they are evolved in different geographies and different business areas. For example, MT standard is Swift's own proprietary standard used for cross-border payments. ISO 15022 for securities. Previously there was another ISO standard for securities. ISO 8583 still dominate in cards domain, and many other regional standards. Think of each standard in payments like a language to communicate. We have many regional languages in the world. Then how do things work then? Just like you needed translators to communicate between two languages, payments world also was using the translators between standards. But this setup is prone to issues. Mapping gaps, understanding standards gaps can cause serious damages to the bank and usually cause delays in the payment processing. What is the solution? A universal language which everyone can understand and interpret the same. Second issue is the semantic barrier. Specialists in different domains or countries have developed their own jargon or vocabularies. Different words might refer to the same concept, or worse, the same word could have different meanings. For example, what some players in the payments industry call an ordering customer, others refer to as payer or payor, while still others talk about a payment originator or initiator. The context also plays a role here. The payment originator or initiator is a debtor or payer in a credit transfer, while that payment originator initiator is a creditor or payee in a direct debit. Next issue is the syntax barrier. The syntax is the format or the language used to express that information in a message. It's difficult for two people to have a conversation unless they both use and understand the same language. The same is true for syntax. Look at these two information. Both represent the same information but in different format. One is Swift empty format and another is legacy Fedwire FIAM format. Other than these three main issues, there are other issues like limited character space, especially in empty formats. We have only 4 lines of 35 characters to fit the complete name and address. Next, these fields are unstructured. Let's say the same 4 lines of name and address can contain street name in line 1 or line 2, and where the country information lies is a mystery to streamline the process. Another challenge is inconsistent data across countries. Because of these unstructured and inconsistent data, AML, sanctions, or in general compliance screening became hard and many false positives or false negatives would arise. Automating these processes was difficult to have a consistent STP process. ISO tries to fix the above issues using ISO 20022 standard. Let us now understand the fundamentals of ISO 20022. ISO 20022 is built on 5 foundational pillars. 1. Business model. 2. Data dictionary. 3. Message model. 4. Syntax, XML or JSON. And 5. Governance and rules. Together these form a global common language for financial communication. Let's break each one down in simple but precise terms. The first one is business model. ISO 20022 starts by describing real life financial processes. They did not start with messages. Processes like customer credit transfer, financial institutional transfers, direct debits, reporting, settlement, etc. are analyzed thoroughly. Then for each process, they identified the actors who are involved in these processes, like debtor, creditor, debtor agent, creditor agents, intermediary agents, etc. Then they identified business events like payment initiation, confirmation, rejects, returns, etc. Now they analyzed the flows that connect these actors during the business events. By such analysis, they made sure that whatever is created will address the real business operations rather than just some random messages. So basically, they first understood what the business is doing and then designed the messages that support it. The second one is data dictionary. Think about the English dictionary that some of you might have used in your life. At least I used one early in my childhood. What does dictionary contain? It is a compilation of words which will give the meaning, usage, and other useful information about the words. Similarly, ISO 20022 has compiled a huge library of standardized definitions for every business object that they want to use in the ISO messages. Objects like party, account, agent, amount, currency, identifications, etc. Each component in the dictionary has a name, a definition, its data type, and rules like whether it's optional, mandatory, repeatable, etc. This creates a single source of truth for all the components that are used in the whole ISO 20022. What does this mean? For example, debtor agent means bank of the payer. It means exactly the same whether you see in PAX 8, PAX 9, CAMT 53, PANO 1 or for that matter any ISO message. This guarantees global consistency. Third one is the message model. basically assembling messages from dictionary parts. That is, messages are carefully created with the components of the dictionary. Imagine like if data dictionary is a box of all Lego pieces, then messages are Lego exhibits that are created using those pieces. This is really important for any of us to learn the ISO in a simple way. Once we are familiarized with the pieces, then understanding the messages will become easy. Each message of ISO is built in a certain way. First, business application header, then group header, then transaction level blocks which contain the structured components like debtor, creditor, amount, purpose, etc. Please note that ISO 20022 does not invent new fields for each message. It just assembles existing dictionary components. That's why the messages are consistent across the entire standard. Next is syntax layer. Basically, how messages are physically constructed. Imagine this way. If data dictionary is the words or meaning, then syntax is the grammar that is used to write down. ISO 20022 is syntax neutral. It defines meaning and not format. However, two syntaxes are commonly used. The first one is XML, Extended Markup Language. This is the main syntax used for CBPR plus, Target 2, CHAPS, SEPA, etc. Messages like PAX8 or CAMT53 are XML based. The second one is JSON. This is used increasingly for APIs and real-time payment systems. ISO 20022 ensures that the same dictionary element maps to consistent XML or JSON tags. Syntax can evolve without changing business definitions. The last and probably most important one is the governance and rules that guide the ISO 20022. ISO 20022 maintains strict global governance. Any new request will go through change request CR's process. Each and every release are versioned, example 2023, 2024. Old versions are deprecated with clear schedules. They maintain the consistency across domains, payments, securities, FX. Swift plays a major role for CBPR Plus by publishing usage guidelines, UHB user handbook. They define the network validation rules and ensure interoperability across banks globally. Governance ensures that there are no conflicts, no ambiguous meanings across messages, upgrades are smooth over years, and everything is globally aligned. Now that we understand the 5 core pillars of the ISO 20022, let's look at another 5 supporting concepts which will give the ISO 20022 its real power. The first concept is the reusable business components. In ISO 20022 messages, you see many a times same component is used everywhere. Components like party, account, agent, amount, postal address, etc. So if you kind of remember the most used components, then you know what it contains in whatever ISO message that you work on. For example, if you know the structure of agent which defines a financial institution, then wherever agent is used, you know what its structure is in that new message, even if you are working on that new message for the first time. This reusability creates consistency, simplicity, and interoperability across messages. Remember this, ISO never redefines the same thing twice. Second concept is the structured rich data. Just think about the address fields that we saw in the 2 formats earlier in this video. The empty address is limited to 4 lines of 35 characters for complete name and address. Also, there is no indication of where the name exactly ends and how much is its length. Similarly, the Fedwire format is also limited. This is where ISO is different. It defines dedicated spaces with tags. ISO allows full addresses, multiple identifiers, long remittance information, purpose codes, legal entity identifiers, system clearing system IDs, ultimate parties, etc. This richness enables better AML, fewer investigations, automated processing. ISO message also provides a facility to accommodate extra information if required. We will see this in next video. Third concept is a domain model. ISO 20022 is organized into domains. These are the 5 domains as per the ISO 2022 website. They are payments, securities, trade, foreign exchange, cards. Each domain reuses the same dictionary and modeling approach. We shall see more on these domains in the next video. Fourth concept is a business application header BAH. This is a consistent envelope for all ISO messages. It contains information like sender, receiver, message type, creation time, identification on a high level. This header standardizes the routing and metadata. Without parsing the entire message payload, just by scanning the BAH, the message can be routed over the networks to the correct destinations. We will deep dive into the BAH further in future videos. The last but very important concept is the end-to-end traceability of the message using UETR. ISO supports a unique end-to-end tracking reference. This enables full transaction visibility across the network. Faster investigations can happen using this ID. We shall see its uses when we go through the concepts of GPI case management in our future videos. Why these fundamental concepts matter? These fundamentals solve the biggest problems in legacy formats, which are inconsistent naming, unstructured text, different formats per country, limited remittance information, high manual intervention, difficult AML compliance checks. By defining these fundamental concepts as separate layers, ISO 20022 becomes scalable, globally consistent, machine readable, adaptable for the next 20 to 30 years, perfect for automation and AI based compliance tools. But why do you and me should know these concepts? Because understanding these concepts will give you a special lens in how we view the ISO 20022 messages. This information will equip us to learn the ISO faster and in a simplified manner. In the next video, we shall see the building blocks of ISO 20022. Until then, happy learning. Thanks for watching this video. If you like this video, please like, subscribe and share for more such interesting topics on payments.